Welcome to the People's Guild.
Each week we explore the Splinterlands universe with guests from all across the mythical land of Praetoria.
Join us on our journey as we discuss the evolution of the game, the strategy, the lore, and the exciting path that lies ahead.
To support the People's Guild, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts, and also check us out on PeakD, YouTube, and Twitter.
Send your questions, suggestions, and epic battles in our comments through Twitter or email at thepeoplesguildspl@gmail.com. We'll feature the best in our episodes and maybe airdrop you some prizes.
Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the People's Guild. Another week, another episode. We got a great guest. We've been trying to. You've heard us talking about this guy. He's kind of shouted out the impending episode of his appearance on the People's Guild a number of times over the last couple of months. Hep and I were both privileged to hop on with this guy and his co-host over on his show, Into the Splinterverse. Before I introduce the guest formally, though, I quickly want to acknowledge Aqualis Marketplace, splinterlands.aqualis.io. Go check it out. Cool marketplace, offering some pretty cool kickbacks for transacting on their platform. And yeah, let's support the guys that are supporting the community. So go check out Aqualis. Shout out to Crypto Eater. All right. Well, without further ado, we've got Stever82. Welcome to the show, Stever. It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, it's great to see you guys both again. It's been a little bit since we were on that show, and you made a special recording change for me to be here because I'm that Splinterlands TV streamer on Wednesday night. Oh, wait, no, I'm not anymore. So
yeah, we should have postponed till next week. You'd be free.
Yeah, it would have been free to just come on at your normal time. But thanks for doing this for me. It's been a very interesting time since you came on our show. It's funny and not a lot's changed in the game, but sure as a whole bunch changed yesterday in the grand return of Matt. When they said they were going to delay that show and put it on at 2 because of important announcements, those were not the important announcements that I was expecting at all. And so it was quite an interesting day yesterday. A lot of different feelings, and then having to do my show with Baby Omega last night, and Tails joined us last minute. And then I feel like Tails almost joined us. I don't know if you guys watched, but when he was on Walking Keys and Gank's show, Gank was basically yelling at him the whole night for what Tails was trying to say in the chat and gave him a bunch of timeouts. So I think he wanted to come and get some stuff off his chest. So he joined our show. So it was an interesting night and a lot of feelings, a day to digest it all. And we're probably going to get into a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man. I thought, listened to the stream last night earlier today. It was really good. I love watching you guys' stuff. It's always great. So definitely thanks for being here. But yeah, I didn't know. So are the Splinterlands TV done? Is it done, or is it just there's not going to be as many? You said, no longer on Wednesdays. What's the scoop on that?
Yeah, so tomorrow night will be my last Splinterlands TV show. It's very, very rushed because we found out this morning that they were turning it off as basically midnight on the 29th, right as it becomes the 30th. Buns, Bags, and Caps will do the very last show. They are letting us give away Untamed cards now for the next 3 or 4 days. So it might be a good time to watch some Splinterlands TV because they've apparently filled up the giveaway account with good cards again to let us go out with a bang. There was some kind of gift to all of the streamers. I'm not going to say what it was, but it was at least something pretty nice from the team. So it's been a nice experiment. I don't know if most people would call it a success or not. I know the current community enjoyed it. I don't think it grew the community as much as we wanted to. And, a lot of people might not think it's a big production, but as Bojangles and I were talking about, there's, they've got to support multiple employees within the company to keep everything working. It is a complicated system to allow us all to very easily stream to one Twitch channel, and even a small salary of $10 or $20 an hour. I'm not going to say exactly what people were making, but you times that by the fact that it's a 24-hour gig, right? Because somebody streams every single hour. It's a bigger cost to the company than most people probably imagine. On top of the fact that thousands of dollars in merchandise has been given away from the team, and even from some of it from us streamers. So unfortunately, it's coming to an end. I don't know if they'll revive it in any way there. One thing that's kind of interesting, I guess I can drop a leak to you guys. Yabapmatt came into the stream and he said, as we all kind of go back into producing our own content, he would be willing to come on to some of our streams as a thank you. And so he will tentatively be joining Baby Omega and I on the 16th of October. So that's kind of interesting. Hopefully that stays, and watch for me to confirm that later on. But it'll be kind of interesting because I've never been able to get Matt in an interview like that. So it'll be
That's cool. All right. So 16th of October on Into the Splinterverse.
Yeah.
Nice.
A special time though. We have to go a little bit earlier for Matt. So I think we're going to be going 6 p.m. Pacific instead of 8 p.m.
A little quid pro quo. I like it. All right. Well, the Splinterlands TV is an interesting experiment. I felt like, to your point, Steve, it was definitely an experiment, right? And when at the height of the Summoner Summer giveaways, we were seeing an average of damn near triple digit spectators in the audience, and as soon as that gold foil kitty got given away, those numbers plummeted, and we were right back to I've been continuing to frequent Splinterlands TV since then, and between 30, 40, maybe on a good day we hit 40. But also to your point, as soon as that announcement from Rondon came in, I was on stream when I saw that message, and I sent shared that message with the folks in the Twitch chat. And as soon as, word started going around, all of a sudden that number crept back up to 70, 80 viewers. And the good in me wants to believe that the people were there to support Splinterlands TV. The realist in me tells me that they were there because they saw 750 Untamed cards would be given away effective immediately. So I think we've created a streaming platform that has conditioned the audience to expect giveaways, which is not the right. And I know that the streamers have kind of talked about this ad nauseum, and you and Bebe both being Splinterlands TV streamers, you experience this firsthand, and I've heard you guys talk about it, but it's not creating community for the right reasons, right? So I would love to see it revived once we are, we have all this kind of cloud of uncertainty in the rear view, and maybe we've got a sexier game to present to the crowd, because like Steve and I, we were talking about it, and Splinterlands is not the most accessible game unless you're intimately involved and you understand what's happening, and you can recognize a good card when you see it given away or active in a battle or something like that. It's not one of those games where you're just gonna casually stop in and, ooh, this game looks intriguing, let me hang out for a little bit. I don't feel like Splinterlands has that appeal. Maybe Battles 2.0, and I don't even know if that's still a thing now that I mention it, but maybe the new experience that awaits. I think Nate is still intimately involved in the future of creative, and I have to imagine that he has ambitions of bringing a sexier interface to the game. Maybe when we get there, things will be kind of ripe for Splinterlands TV's revival.
Yeah, and I'm even going to take a little bit of blame for it becoming kind of a giveaway channel, because when I first started on Splinterlands TV, it was at a time when things were a little more bullish. I had quite a lot of assets, and so I did every night on my Wednesday night show. You could play me, and if you beat me, you won a Rift Watcher card. If you lost to me, you won a Chaos Legion card. And I had a wheel of maybe 12 spins with Legendary on there twice if you won. So I was giving away Legendary Rift Watcher cards quite frequently to people that could beat me. I mean, I played for real, so I wouldn't give away a ton, but it would usually be one or two a night.
Well, let's
Agors
fire up the challenge,
and all
Steve.
these other things. I gave away a couple Agors, a couple of the blue one. I forget her name at this point, but I gave away some pretty good cards. And then after doing that for a while, I led up to my big Mylor giveaway. At the time, he was a level 4 Mylor, so it was for somebody to play in silver. I made people jump through a lot of hoops to basically earn entries. And I was the first person to break triple digits on Splinterlands TV on that stream. I got like 130 people in there for that giveaway. And I won't say that they got that idea from me, but it wasn't long after that they started giving away stuff on every single stream. And we got over 100 viewers pretty regular. The problem with that, as I soon found out when eventually I got to the point where I was like, guys, I'm cutting off my giveaways because Splinterlands is doing it. And, things were getting a little more tight around the belt in the whole ecosystem, is that I saw my numbers drop off. You saw people disappear. And it got kind of like known without the community that some people were there more for the giveaways. And the problem with that is it didn't make a good Twitch channel. Twitch channels need to be live interaction with your audience for the most part, unless you're one of the not so honesty Twitch channels. So you need that play with people. You need to talk with them. You need to explain what's going on. And it's so hard to do if I went there and I played a game and I broke down the battle and I said, okay, what do you guys think I could have done differently? And then no one says anything. But then if I say the keyword is this for a giveaway, 50 people put in the keyword. And so there wasn't enough active listeners. There would be, some people who are honestly just lurking, had it on the side, were doing other things, and would only type for the giveaways. But it made it, in my mind, like I very few shows I thought were really good shows to watch if you just showed up to watch them. And it was hard to put in the effort to make shows like that, even as a streamer, because you felt like the crowd only cared about what they were going to win. And that's something I think that we have to change a little bit about the stuff that we do and share. And then the big thing that might do that for us eventually, as silly as it seems, is when we get boss battles and we get the Soul Keep. Because I know Soul Keep right now is like the don't talk to me about Soul Keep. It's not even on the 5 things Matt's going to do. But when you have some other game modes, because the hardest thing about streaming Splinterlands TV is, guys, I only get 20 battles a day. I have to focus. I'm fighting up in Champion 1. Do I want to stream those, be distracted by other people? I mean, I've literally tried that a couple times, and every single time I've tried to do it, I've ended up surrendering a match because I start talking through my selection too much. And then all of a sudden I don't even see the clock because I'm trying to narrate and be a good streamer. And then I surrender a match and that energy's gone. And you're just like, no. But that's the kind of things that make this such a hard game to be like a Twitch stream thing. The energy system isn't good for it. The amount of focus it takes to compete at a high level is hard to it's hard to walk through that and explain it and get your battle in. And so it'll be interesting to see if they decide to bring that back or not.
I feel like we've got to address kind of the bigger elephant in the room. Splinterlands TV getting cut was obviously a byproduct of, some much bigger announcements of this week's town hall. And real quickly, I just want to make an amendment to what you said there, Steve. Soul Keep is on the list of 5 things. It's number 4.
Okay.
What's
so
number
it's
5?
Number 5 is validators. Yeah, so we've got Secret of Praetoria, number 1, number 2, Rebellion, number 3, attracting and retaining new players, 4 is Soul Keep, 5 is validators. But obviously all of this is a direct result and an immediate side effect of the bigger announcement from Town Hall this week, which was the restructuring and Yaba's taking control of the company as the I think the way that he put it, I read it as kind of interim CEO. It's obviously something that he doesn't want to do long term. But I want to get this is obviously the second round of layoffs in less than 12 months. I think there were some folks, shout out to Walking Keys for his, that guy's crystal ball is next level, because he had been saying for months and months that it wouldn't surprise him if the company had to cut back a little bit. And I don't think he was expecting to this degree, nor was anybody else. I think everybody was surprised with the magnitude of the shakeup. But I want to feel what your guys' kind of immediate reaction is, and now that we've had at least a good day or so to kind of let the dust settle in our minds, where are you guys feeling about the clear and present and shorter term and longer term?
Okay, yeah. So my immediate reaction when it happened was kind of like, oh no, they had to do it again. I didn't like it, and I was trying to listen to the town hall while I was at work, and I had to pause it and then restart it, and I was totally distracted the whole day. And there was just like, is this going to be the end of this? Are we winding this down? Are they not going to be able to fulfill things? Because the big worry in my mind has always been, can they deliver on what they promised and build out the ecosystem that they did? Because it's a smart ecosystem from top to bottom, but they have to deliver the things to get it working. And then as I watched the rest of the town hall, I listened to Matt speak, and we got to the end, and I heard some of the plans, and I've thought about them for a little bit longer. I'm actually more bullish on both ecosystems now that they are going to be separate and driven by separate people who I think care about them more, because the thing that I see in this is that there were some serious disagreements with what to do in the background over the past year with some of these different projects and some of these different things. And it looks like Matt was on one side, Aggie was on another, and Aggie had the board until recently, and now he doesn't. And they decided to make this big change. And I obviously am speculating a little bit there, but Matt definitely told us in the town hall that there was some disagreements there. He didn't get into them deeply, but he basically did say that, yes, there were some things that I want to do differently. And I think the big thing that a lot of people are saying, and I agree with, is he didn't like the idea that Aggie thought their runway was fine because a bull market was coming, and he doesn't think that it's fine because he doesn't want to rely on a bull market coming. And in the end, I think that a company like Splinterlands has to be driven a little bit more like somebody with a mindset of Matt, because it's not just a couple of guys who made a crypto project and stuff like that. It's grown to be a full-fledged company with lots of employees. I couldn't imagine if at my job, my CEO came down and said, like, well, boy, guys, Bitcoin better go up next month, or we're going to be laying off about half the workers. And, I still like Aggie. I think he's a great person. I don't have anything wrong with even his analysis of where crypto might go in the next couple months, because I think you can back that up. But I still don't think that's the way that a company should be run. If you want to run your personal finances that way, that's fine. And so in the end of the day, I feel better about Splinterlands. I'm extremely bullish on the DAO, which is kind of funny because I used to not like the DAO. But this idea, like, it's an insane idea when you think about the numbers. Matt has said that for $250,000, the DAO can buy half the revenue of Rebellion, and he thinks Rebellion can sell 3 million packs. Now, if we do the $5 price point on those packs, and obviously there's usually discounts and things like that, so I'm just doing this for easy math, that's $15 million that would make at 3 million packs, and the DAO gets half of that, $7.5 million. Now, that would mean for a $250,000 investment, you could net $7.25 million profit. I don't know what company wouldn't love to do that. What entity would ever even dream of not taking that opportunity? Now, maybe you can argue we won't sell 3 million Rift Watcher packs in a year, because Rebellion packs, because We didn't sell that many of the Rift Watchers, but I would argue I'm still probably going to want a full set of the new cards, and Rift Watchers is a smaller set. I'm not buying more packs because I have a max set. If I didn't, a player like me would probably still be investing into those cards throughout the year. So if it's a normal full set, I would expect it to sell more than a mini set sells to the players that want to have it. And it sets us up into a very interesting thing going into early next year. You could have Splinterlands with a few $1 million, with the DAO with a few $1 million, and by the end of the year, have them both sitting there pretty flush with cash. And this new paradigm where the DAO is kind of hiring Splinterlands to do certain things. It makes the governance part of the SPS token so much different than it was before. Because before it was like just managing rewards. Now it's managing possibly millions of dollars. I mean, could you think about the fact that if we had $7 to $8 million in the DAO, that's literally the DAO holding enough cash that represents half of the market value of the SPS coin? I mean, that's unheard of. For them to just be sitting on that much money inside basically a treasury. And obviously in this model, some of that money has to go back to Splinterlands, but it's such an interesting idea because we've basically gotten to this area where the DAO kind of becomes this giant behemoth that almost markets the game and itself and what it is. And the team becomes this smaller entity that you're just hiring to give you deliverables. And when he dropped that on me last night, and I had to go and think about it, and I started doing math, and then I was like, man, imagine if we sold like 6 million packs because there is a bull run, and now you're talking $15 million in the DAO, the exact same amount as our current market cap in SPS, just about. I mean, these kind of things that Matt just casually brings into existence in his mind have always blown me away. And so having him now guiding this ship and really pushing to get his SPS flywheel working, really pushing to get his decentralized game decentralized the way he wants it, is exciting for me. And giving Aggie a chance to basically focus in on GLS and fix it, hopefully, and get it to do something, it is a chance for him to maybe, the best thing I could say is if he got moved away from Splinterlands, because it looks like, you know, the board no longer was comfortable with the way he was leading the company. For the biggest way to answer that in my mode, at least in my book, for my ego, would be go over here and go, oh, you don't think I can succeed? Watch what I'm going to do over here. And so I don't know for sure that's going to work, but that's where my mindset is, that we might have re-energized one guy to get, you know, to really push a project that needs it. And given the guy that really has the right vision for what I think Splinterland should be, the keys to build that vision.
Yeah, we've heard that they've wanted to move it to this model where the DAO is, you know, hiring Steam monsters to build card sets. I did not expect it to be this soon, and that Matt wants to push it there this soon is really interesting. You know, and obviously, I think you probably thought about this more than me, and you know, you've been around a lot longer than me. But you know, what do you think is, you know, going to be the DAO? Like, let's say we get, you know, $7-10 million in the DAO. Like, you know, what's the best way that the DAO can use some of those funds to kind of help out the game and, you know, help out the ecosystem moving forward?
You know what? I haven't even had enough time to think about what you do with that kind of money. Obviously, I think normally if you had to hire them to do another set after that, it might cost a little more because Rebellion is almost done. And I think he's giving us a sweetheart deal on this first one to kind of show how it could work. And then when you make $10 million, the next one is probably going to cost you a little more, because he's like, look, we did this, it worked, but we need a little bit more money for the next one. But I think it allows us to, like, the big difference I see is right now, you know, Splinterlands is looked at as just this little DeFi, this little Web3 game It's really simplistic. It has a token that only goes down. There's no there's nothing special here, to really highlighting the fact that wait, this is a decentralized, you know, organization that's got a whole lot of money, an ability to earn a whole lot of money, and a whole lot of money to decide what to do with. And it creates this dynamic where, I mean, let's face it, if people saw the vision, you could have some VCs come in and buy very large amounts of SPS, stake it, and get controlling vote power over what the DAO is going to do. And so everyone who's selling their SPS at like a penny, or 1.5 cents, I hope you really need that money, because if Matt does this, I think it's going to be a giant mistake. Because like, you think about the stuff like we're seeing right now, them talk about doing with like $500,000 in the DAO, and then think about the ideas if you had $10 million in the DAO. I don't know everything that you'd even be able to do there, but I mean, there's the idea of going after partnerships with other projects. There's the idea of, hiring media firms to actually push the game when it's time to push the game. You have the ability to take that money and go into other investments. I don't know. There's a million different things that you could do with throughout the ecosystem with that stuff. And so it's just such an interesting idea. And I don't think I've ever heard of a DAO that it would work like this, that would have the ability to theoretically every year generate millions of dollars of revenue, because it's helping create these packs of cards. So it's just it's a very interesting thing. Now, of course, you have to have the player base to come here and be part of this for any of this to work, and we have to have people buying 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 million packs next year. And so there's some ifs there, and I can't take anything for granted anymore, because I've been a pretty firm believer that this is all going to work, but man, they've been making me look bad. It's just the truth of it at this point.
Yeah, you raised some really valid points there, Steve, and I'm thinking about the current set of proposals that are out in the pre-proposal stage, and I think the immediate call to action from the community was to go back in and amend your vote, let's downvote these things or pull them from the table. There is the option to revoke a pre-proposal if you submitted it. I think 5 days ago it was a good call to make some longer term moves with the funds that are currently available in the DAO. Now, all of a sudden, it's much more clear to me that we should wait and see how these things play out. And I've heard some kind of whispers around map chat and other places where Matt pretty much came out and blatantly said, like, buckle up and please be patient, right? And some of the sentiment that came as a result of that request is, this is textbook symptoms of impending rug pull. Now, personally, I don't feel like that's Yaba's style. I don't expect that to happen. Where do you guys sit on the fence in terms of your belief in Yaba fulfilling this vision and being able to put the pieces in place to set us up in a position of being viable long term and successful and profitable long term versus are we on a fast track to a rug pull?
Wow, that's interesting. I hadn't looked at it like that. The idea that they would rug pull this project, I just don't see it. Maybe I'm looking through rose-colored glasses here, but I'm not even sure like how they're just gonna rug pull the DAO by taking a $250 investment and shutting down the servers and walking away with that little bit of money. I don't see it because it doesn't make a lot of sense to me for them to do it at this point. Because the game it's been running for a long time. They could have very easily, if they wanted to rug us, walked away after they sold 9 million Chaos Legion packs. They could have not grew the company as well. There was a time when the servers were breaking and DEC was worth 10x what it was worth. Peg and they're, to my knowledge, the team stuck it out with all that, hired a lot of people, tried to grow to get everything working, pushed to do all of this stuff, and they've been as responsible as they could be, laying people off and trying to keep things working and getting us going. The one thing I could see that would make people see this is, and I think this is my biggest disappointment, is when Land hit that MAD server, it didn't work. It didn't work at all. And if you can't deliver on the things you said you were going to make, then I can start to see maybe they're just going to pack up shop and run away. So that's a very interesting take. I mean, I haven't thought about it at all. It's never even crossed my mind. I think it would, Yaba and Aggie are big people within the crypto space. Personally, Matt is a pretty big NFT holder and in those communities over on Ethereum. They're both doxxed. This isn't their only pony when it comes to what they're doing in crypto. So to become outlaws like that over not that much money, let's be honest, there's not that much money in the DAO today. I don't see a reason they would do that. But if I'm proven wrong on that, I'll be pretty upset. But I've always been someone who said, if you're getting into something like this with scary money that scares you, if you can't sleep at night, then maybe you do need to take some off the table and get yourself to an amount that you're comfortable with losing. I have $60,000 or $70,000 worth of assets in this game at today's prices. I don't want to lose that, but it's not something I need. My life will be fine if it disappeared. I'll be sad. But I'm willing to make that risk on the fact that this stuff is going to succeed. So that's just where I'm at when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, it seems like it would be a weird time to do something like that, right? If this was the height of the last bull run, Untamed, and like all their assets were worth so much money, and sell everything and walk away, then but yeah, to take money from like you said, the 250,000, to take the money from the DAO and then try to walk away, then it would almost be like, well, why wouldn't you would at least put out, if you wanted to just get as much money out of it as you could and walk away. It sounds like a lot of the work for Rebellion has been done, and the team you have in place is enough to get that finished up. Why wouldn't you sell the packs? And then if maybe then walk away, right? Because you'd have even more money at that point. So
yeah, and then also to say that we're going to sell this pack and give half the money to the DAO. Maybe it's just because, like I said, it's such a sweetheart deal. It does seem a little fishy, right? If I came to you and said, give me $5 and I'm going to give you 500, you'd be like, huh? You wouldn't expect me to ever see me again, right?
Yeah.
So it is an extremely generous deal, but it seems kind of like, to me, the idea is to be extremely generous to the DAO, so the DAO will be extremely generous back to them. Like, I could see them wanting to get a lot of that money back very quickly.
All right. Well, I'm with you guys. I feel like the opportunities in the past have been much more enticing if the term and the action of rug pull was ever an option for these guys. And I feel like, I want to jump back to kind of initial reactions and once you've had a chance to kind of process what was announced and what is the new status quo and the new MO moving forward. I was with you, Steve. I felt like my initial reaction was, oh boy, here we go again. But as I listened to the town hall, as I talked to some other folks in the community, a sense of relief was really my main takeaway. I feel like, and shout out to Aggie. I love Aggie. We've had him on the show a couple of times and really enjoyable conversations. And I love what he's capable of doing. But I feel like, I was really surprised. And you called out some of the disagreements, Steve, a moment ago. And there was one that really stuck out to me. And you pointed this out. It was the disagreement on the definition of runway. I feel like Aggie's interpretation was equal parts irresponsible and convenient. I think as the CEO of the company, I think he should have, what is the textbook definition of runway? It's not what I could potentially have, as we wait for a bull run. It's no, Matt's interpretation of if Bitcoin runs to zero, are we still able to keep the lights on? So stuff like that, I think I found really interesting. It was frustrating to hear that was, that's a fundamental business term, and the disagreements on how do you define that thing. I look it up in Merriam-Webster.com, dude. Like, what is runway? How is it defined? But as Matt was talking through his short to medium term plans for the DAO, I couldn't help but feel excited again about where this could go. Matt gave very real, practical, tangible actions that we could take, and what would the product of those actions look like? And it wasn't like Matt's not shooting for the moon when he says, we need to sell 2 or 3 million packs. I think Rebellion is the goals that Matt has for Rebellion are very practical, and they're achievable with our current user base. I think there's a huge difference between what Rift Watchers brings to the game versus what Rebellion brings to the game. Now, we've talked about it a couple of times on the show. Rebellion is going to push out Untamed completely, and all of a sudden we have a new modern era. And it's the entirety of this new modern era is at a much more accessible price, which makes, I think it wouldn't surprise me if once Rebellion comes out, Rift Watchers becomes more in demand, because those cards are going to be, more meta than they are now. And they already are very meta. But once Rebellion comes out, all of a sudden those $1,000, $2,000 summoners are no longer going to be a required part of the equation to win or to play competitively. And instead you can hop in the shop and spend, I don't know if Matt, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he landed on a price, but I would guess in Matt's much more modest approach, we would probably end up closer to that $4 price range, like we saw with Chaos Legion. And all of a sudden it's kind of a no-brainer to buy into Rebellion if you're going to stick around in the game and you enjoy the gameplay, you enjoy the ranked and the brawls and the tourneys and that sort of stuff. So yeah, my overall sense of relief, it's a very night and day reaction versus the layoffs last year. I think everybody kind of hit the panic button and, oh man, nobody saw this coming. And, we laid off almost 50% of employees last year. This year was much more kind of precision cuts in terms of, we only need what's imperative to the immediate business. And that's not to say that some of the guys that disappeared as a result of these restructurings will not be missed. I think they will be, but I think we've got the meat and the potatoes in Team Steam Monsters to deliver on these promises currently unseen, undelivered, and
hope we do.
Hopefully we hope they can. And take the ship into a much more sustainable, practical, realistic place in the next 3 or 4 months. Prior to the conversation yesterday, I was wondering what Q4 is going to look like. I was kind of skeptical about the future of stuff, but I feel like, I'm with you, Steve. I feel much more bullish now, knowing that we've got the conservative architect of all of this stuff, not just the game, but the tokenomics, the future of land, all of these components that play vital roles in the game. We've got the conservative architect steering the ship. So yeah, Hep, we kind of jumped ahead elsewhere, but I'd love to hear what's your takeaway, man? How are you feeling about stuff? And where were you 48 hours ago, and where are you now?
Yeah, I mean, it was 48 hours ago. The last few weeks, it's been, I don't know. It's just kind of been like we're still in the same place we were 6 months ago. Land's still not here, and they got it out to the MAB server, but a lot of issues. It was kind of like, what's going on? Are they going to be able to get this done? How are they going to move forward if this is going to be the pace at which we're going to move? I will say, I know everybody loves Aggie, and Aggie's great, but to me, it was sort of, even like when we talked to him last time, it was one of those things where he's just always in the town halls. It's like he's always on message. He's always got his sort of shtick about crypto and the markets and the hype of the game, and it was sort of like he was just always on message, right? You didn't really, it was hard to know whether you were getting, was there a different side of him that was more realistic about things, or is he just the hype man out in the town halls and when he did appearances on people's shows and stuff like that? But then you get on the town hall yesterday and you hear Matt basically throw him under the bus. Like, I don't know if anybody talked about that. I mean, like, I was pretty surprised by how candid Matt was about the issues and his disagreements and what he felt that Aggie had done wrong or steered the game wrong. And I mean, who knows? I mean, it's Aggie wasn't there to kind of defend himself. It was like, what, it seemed like Matt tried to make it seem like Aggie, really want to push to go down these other paths, and it was a waste of resources, and he was fighting against it. So I mean, I was surprised by that. I thought it was very candid. I thought Matt's always been the more candid of the two, and the more conservative and realistic. And if what he was saying, it was true, and these things are true, then maybe the game itself now is in better hands. I mean, the GLS game, they haven't made a lot of progress with either. Invenium haven't really made any progress with that. Steve, I know you guys talked about this a little bit the other night with like the Chibi Dinos, like that just kind of, whatever happened to Chibi Dinos.
The what?
Yeah, exactly.
We have dinos?
We have Chibi Dinos. What was those like? So I mean, it's sort of these things where it's I guess I have, my feelings maybe haven't changed that much. I think my feelings are still, you got to show me you can actually get it done. And that's sort of where I still am. And maybe we're on a better path to actually getting some things done that we need to get done. But I've listened to a lot of town halls. I've listened to a lot of streams. I've listened to a lot of people's opinions, and, talk's cheap. Saying that as
Fair
someone
enough.
who talks to people on those podcasts a lot, it is. It's like let's see him get it done now, and then
Fair enough.
then I'll feel better.
Yeah, the one thing I would say too, adding on to that a little bit more, with as good as Aggie has been for us as a community, the one thing that he did to me that I think was a bit of a disservice is he made me think they could handle everything they were doing. And in reality, with what Matt has done in taking over the company and really streamlining, these are the 5 things I'm going to work on. And I'm going to take GLS and the Chibi Dinos and that whole Unity and Venium and just, that's completely out of here. No one in my company is even going to work on that anymore. It's showing that in his mind, a lot of that stuff he might have been against doing. He might have thought it was, a distraction and not a good thing to do. And if there was that internal fight over that, they got me a little bit. I thought they had said GLX would have its own people, and they said this would, that there would be separation, and they had already been talking to some Unity games, and maybe Aggie is a little too much hopium, especially when he's coming there every week. That's the other thing. Matt's approach to town halls, while it'll make it a little harder for me to do a town hall recap post as often and earn a little money on Hive, it might be a good thing to not really do one until you have something to say, as opposed to trying to think up what to say. So that's the thing I'm looking forward to here. I'm sure Matt didn't get rid of anyone that he didn't want to. I think that they've took away all the things that was costing them money, that wasn't making them either direct money or pushing them forward down their path. And unfortunately, that included, the media team, the Splinterlands TV stream team, and a few other people within the company who were just obviously not, in his mind, needed at this point. And I still feel like they'll get land 1.5 out, and they will be faster to get, the 0.6 with at least the grain market and the prefix titles. I don't know how quick surfing would come into this, because there hasn't been really talk if that is something that's even being worked on at this point. But surfing coming after that. And then the other thing that I think he kind of alluded to last night, and this is a little bit sneaky, and if it is true, I hope he tells us when he tries to ask us to fund Rebellion. I think Rebellion is going to be the introduction of spells. I really think it is, and we're going to get that second part of the game. Aggie's hinted that it's coming sooner than we think in his own town halls, and I know I just said he's a little too hopium, but when Matt says that he's seen spells work on the QA server, because he did say that he'd seen it happen, and then he even talked about some of the things that you could do, like maybe debuff your own team because you see force fields on the other side, or maybe there can be, like, they already have envisioned for what some of these things are. And if we get early next year a new pack of cards that redefines modern to being more affordable, and we completely change the game from being a auto battler to an auto battler with an ace up your sleeve, then that would mean that you're pushing into land 2.0 and card creation quicker than I thought you were going to, because I was thinking we wouldn't be card creating until sometime in 2025. But if Rebellion is when they introduce that mechanic, even if it's just literally like 3 soulbound spells that are not very good, but they start working that in, and maybe in the beginning it might just be on Mav's server or something. But if that new thing comes out sometime next year, as opposed to, I think, what's in a lot of our minds, it could be a very interesting thing. And the math on DEC is just the one thing I have to start wrapping my head around, because when you start doing 4,000 or 5,000 DEC times 3 to 4 million Rebellion packs, well, there goes all your DEC. You don't even need land to get rid of that 4 billion that's sitting there. You just need those packs being sold. So it's a definitely interesting time where next year, early in the year, with the new set and with land out, we should be SPS flywheeling. We should be seeing a ton of SPS need to get burned to be issuing that DEC just to buy the Rebellion packs. It's a very interesting time. And then if you can add into that land 2.0 and actual spell creation added into the game at some point, even if it's halfway into the year, it could be pretty amazing.
Yeah, really good. Yeah. I'm wondering, you've been around for a long time, and what was your opinion of the dynamic between Matt and Aggie from the beginning of the game and moving through to Rebellion and kind of to here? Like, has it kind of always been like this? Do you feel like it's changed? There's been friction more or less at certain times?
Well, like, I got into the game like a month after it became a game. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I know from being someone who's been around this long is Aggie has always been the guy who's been out front. He's always been the guy in the Discord talking to you. He's always been the guy pushing to do the weekly shows. He's always been the guy to be out there basically interacting with the community. And Matt has always been in the background. I've talked to Aggie multiple different times. When I was an early person in the game, we would chat on Discord. Matt wasn't around as much. He was the idea man. He was designing the game, and he was originally the programmer of the game. Then as things have gone and moved forward, I've realized that Matt is more of the guy who's in the mind of a crypto person. He's more in tuned in my mind to the crypto world, having been somebody who got into the Bored Apes before it was something that you didn't, that cost you a ton of money. Somebody who's pay attention, who is able to catch kind of that PFP wave in Ethereum, who was able to see what happened in Terra Luna, was able to see what happened in everything. And so he's proven to me that he's been able to analyze all these different things and try to build solutions to their mistakes, into his game, into his things. But he hasn't been able to successfully bring those things to the forefront of the game. And that has been, I think, the mistake. Like, as much as I love No Bot Modern, I really do, and I think it's great that it's here and that we have a place where humans can play the game. And No Battle Helper Modern, if we just didn't do that, we might already have Land 1.5. We might already have we might be much further along that development line, because clearly we pushed them down this road, and it made them do some stuff that, while it's created a funner place for me to play the game, I don't know that if it's been super beneficial to the game. I go back and forth in my mind on if having a league where there's only 5,000 battles a day is good or not. So it's been an interesting dynamic to watch the whole thing go from. It's also obviously tainted my opinion of everything. Why am I so willing to let $60,000 probably burn to nothing? Well, because I only invested maybe $4,000 of my own money into this game, and then I made incredible returns during the first bull run. So it's a lot easier for someone like me to just say, you know what, I think he can do it again and stick it out, than somebody who came in later. I think there's a lot of us from that early time who are still here, which is a testament to the fact that a lot of those people do believe about that they can do this, and that that he can build this. But I've had a tremendous time being a part of the Splinterlands community. It turned me from somebody who joined Steam thinking I could blog about something, figuring out that you can't blog about stuff if you're a nobody, to being able to find a community, and turned me from a blogger to a YouTuber. The fact that I was a YouTuber is what got me into some of the other games I got into during the last bull run, which made me incredible amounts of money. And it's just one of those situations where I look back and I go like, boy, if I didn't, stumble my way into the Splinterlands Discord, I probably would have missed out on literally hundreds of thousands of dollars of profit. And so I don't want to run away from it, when I think it still has an ecosystem that is built to be very circular and support itself. And you just need the community to get things going, and then it can just snowball out of control.
Yeah, good call, Steve. I'm curious, so you mentioned specifically some of the distractions in delivering Land 1.5. Obviously the team has been working on this, pretty much with blinders on for the last 6-7 months. We've had a few distractions, a la No Bot Modern and Battle Helper getting removed from Modern. But part of me wants to make the argument that was the team could have said, we're going to postpone this until Land 1.5 is out. they could, and Dave, when he put forth the Battle Helper proposal, that was a clear caveat that the team has ultimate discretion in terms of timing. And we waited a couple of months until it was implemented. So I wonder if, part of, looking back at that announcement post from the other day from Team Splinterlands, highlighting the five key components that will be the primary focus moving forward: new player acquisition and player retention. I feel like the appeal of those proposals, making Modern fun again, it had to be a play at player retention, right? Like I think personally, I find Modern, I actually play my battles. I don't use any energy. I still have an Xbot token. I don't use it. I've thought it's been staked and unstaked multiple times. It's crossed my mind to sell it. I've just kind of kept it in my back pocket just in case, I need to turn on the bot and let it run in wild. But for the most part, all 99% of my energy is me manually playing in Modern. And that would not be true if we didn't have no bot Modern, right? If we did not have the Battle Helper plague of Modern, kind of supplanting the bots, I would just leave my bot running in wild. It's not fun. So I feel like the player retention as a result of the team acknowledging, accepting, and fulfilling these proposals has, in my mind, retained a good chunk of the players who are here for the game. But what's your thoughts on that take, Steve?
My thought on that is that you might be right, but there might not be enough of you. And the people that it's pushed out of the game are the people with more means and less time. Because to enjoy, no bot Modern at the highest level of the game, it takes a lot of skill. You have to be really good. This season, the first season post Battle Helper, I'm stuck currently right around the bottom of Champion 2. There's only 80 people in front of me, though, so it's kind of hard to climb because a lot of my battles are win 10 and a lot of my losses are lose 30. So it takes quite a winning percentage to go up in ELO up at that top. So, you've created a league now it's fun to play in because you're playing real people. It's challenging and that's good, but the ELO system hasn't been adjusted, so it's tough at the top. I don't know if it's as tough in the other leagues because I'm not playing down there. But that's also, we've seen, the battles in Modern extremely decline. And then you saw the battles in Wild extremely explode. And that's good because it shows that as a community, we're mostly agreeing to no bot in Modern, and put your bot account in Wild. But then your bot account in Wild, if you were somebody holding some of the best cards in the game, it stops earning very much because the battles are very lopsided. And where I'm winning 7, 8, 9, 10 SPS per game, they're winning 2. So all of a sudden, as that gets worse, you had a player, and since he said this publicly today on a video with Aftersound, who I didn't think would go anywhere, say that he had made the decision to sell his entire collection prior to yesterday's happening in Darkest Night. And I would say that he's been somebody who is, been willing to put a lot of money into the game, been willing to buy cards to keep his account competitive. But he was a player who enjoyed using the Battle Helper. He was willing to pay for that advantage, to have his assets win at a higher thing, to kind of lean on that and only play himself when he really wanted to. And he enjoyed being able to bot because he liked that freedom of not having to play the game and still being able to earn. And I have to admit, I took advantage of a bot for a little while. And what it let me do was it let me make more videos about Splinterlands, deeper dive into different things in Splinterlands, do more informed videos and look at other crypto projects. Now, what do I do with my days? I focus in and play 23 games of Splinterlands. And that's all I do. And I need to. So it creates a different dynamic of player base. And if there were tens of thousands of us that wanted to play in that no bot modern, then I would think it would work. But currently, there's only probably, I don't know, 1,000 of us, 2,000 of us that are really doing that. And so, is 2,000 real players better than possibly 40,000 bots for our ecosystem? I don't know the answer to that as clearly as I thought, as I used to. And so I'm hoping to see when Rebellion comes out and Untamed is gone and new players can come in and they can compete in the no bot modern, they can win SPS that's hopefully going up in value because of this crazy DAO holding a lot of the money and the flywheel starting to flywheel. And we can get thousands, tens of thousands of players in no bot modern, and we can start pushing apart across 50,000, 100,000 battles. But while things are this lopsided in earning potential, it can push away people that normally would be able to be willing to hold quite a lot of assets in this game and be supporting the ecosystem. So that's just a take I had to take when I heard that he literally had said to Aftersound, I'm going to sell all of my cards because this game doesn't have a place for me anymore that I enjoy. I can't get the same rewards I used to get. I've been forced to go into this league where rewards are down. I don't, in his personal life, he can't dedicate the kind of time that you need to be good enough in Champion, because it's no joke. And if you have the best cards in the game and you can't go play in Champion, then you're not making the kind of returns that you should have been able to make. And I don't want to push that player away from our ecosystem. Not a guy who today said because Matt's taking back over, he's back into buying a lot, 400 or 500 Rebellion packs and not going anywhere because he sees the vision now that Matt wants to build and thinks it'll be here. And I hope we can keep him here. But I those are the people that I think we've risked getting away from. And I've always been kind of anti-bot, let the game be just players. But the problem is once it became full bot and once it became bot serviced to the level it did, taking that away was always going to hurt a lot. And it's hurting a lot right now, I feel like, in our numbers. All over the place. The cards are down, rental markets are down, and it hasn't proven that it's stopped the SPS bleeding. So
yeah, that's for me. I've been struggling something similar. The last few seasons, it's trying to play because I always played both, at gold level, but in modern and wild, and I have a decent amount of wild, gold level cards that I spent a good amount of money on, but it's cards I liked and I enjoyed playing with, and it's been tough because it's like, well, you're using your same ECR pool, right, and the rewards are like 3 to 4 times better in modern. It's easier for me to get wins in modern, like playing manually. And so I'm like, well, what am I going to do with all these wild cards I have? I guess maybe I'll put them to land. I've even thought about, because I've been, busy with other stuff. I haven't been able to play as much this summer, especially with travel and family stuff. And it's like, should I get a bot and just run the bot in wild some now, just so I'm getting something out of these cards? Should I put them to land? But then it's like, well, if, once you cycle it through, I don't have that much land. Once you start cycling through cards, it's like, well, why am I going to invest in these cards that 2 years from now I'm going to have no use for? If I, would I have to go out and buy more land to get more use out of these cards? Like, what's the resale value going to be for cards once they cycle into wild? Like we've already seen, we talk Jangles likes to talk a lot about Almo, and we talk about Almo a lot on the show. And we talk about that, that price of Almo through thick and thin, mostly thin the last year and a half, 2 years, stayed at $30, $35 a BCX. As soon as they said, Rebellion's coming by the end of this year, it dropped down to 20. That's a significant decrease for the value of that card. So, then it's like, well, what are the value of these cards once they get into wild? Once they do finally cycle into wild too, do they go down further? Yeah, it creates a lot of, I think it's great, and I do like it, and maybe it will be able to attract those newer players. And I've also always been a big proponent of a lower cost of entry to this game, because I think it's way too expensive to get into it for it to attract a large number of people. So, hopefully that's what balances it out, right? Like, we have to hope that's what balances it out, because otherwise does it make sense? Or the player base we have now, are they going to invest this much money into these cards that, after a year and a half, when that new set, when the set that's going to replace, push Chaos Legion into wild, what happens to the value of Chaos Legion cards, which isn't much right now to speak of anyway. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, and hopefully we can get the player base to start increasing when some of those hurdles are down, because otherwise it could create a lot of issues.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I've never been as somebody who's worried as much about the value of older cards. And that's speaking as somebody who's still holding alpha cards and beta cards. And I've watched their value go up to, extreme values and come right back down. But that's a little bit because I am a card collector. I do have a place to put them in land, and I did buy 200 land specifically so I would have a place for my older cards to live. Like, I can even put all of my untamed cards into land. It would be a little funny to have Kitty in a keep, but I might actually do that. So it'll be I'll do one keep with the 5 best legendary summoners from Untamed.
Hanging out there.
But because the cards, if you buy them when they come out, they're not that expensive. Now, I know if you weren't here, I'm sorry you had to live through this time of being crushed by cards you couldn't get cheaply, but I bought Kitty for $20 a BCX, maybe even cheaper than that, I think, in the teens for most of those cards. And I played with them for 2 years, winning at the top level of this game, earning some of the best rewards, being able to make content for my YouTube channel about this game, being able to make content for the Hive blockchain and get votes from the team. The ROI on those cards is pushed there, like taking a 10 or 20 or 30% cut in value because they've been moved into the older set. That's the price you pay if you want to earn with them for 2 years. And as long as that ecosystem is still there and thriving and land continues to grow, I think they've solved that, adding in the fact that we now know that burning cards for something is an idea that is inside this ecosystem. We had that post put out to burn cards to get Rift Watcher packs, which at least as of now is passing pre-proposal. I don't know if it'll pass full proposal or not, but Matt even commented that if they didn't want to do that idea, he has the idea of doing a great burning event to burn old cards, kind of similar to the DEC burn. I don't know if that one would be as popular as this other version of burning cards, but you add land together, you add burning cards together, and I think they've done an okay job. It's just, if you're going to be holding those premium summoners so that you can win now, you have to be willing to take that loss in value when they get moved out. If not, you got to be willing to sell them probably 6 months before they go out, and then just get beat by them like those other people have been complaining for the last year. I didn't pull the trigger fast enough probably on selling my Kitty. I thought about doing it when the lowest price one was like $3K. And now there's a couple people who, as of yesterday, have listed theirs for $2,200. We'll see if those were kind of fire sales and they get bought up or not. But it's going to be an interesting time. But I mean, you're going to have that mix of like, these cards are good enough to go to land. These cards are good enough to sell. And these cards are, to go into my pile of, maybe I burn them when a burn event happens, because they're just not worth anything special. And land, the good thing about land is since it's an ongoing project, you could always have bonuses change, right? So eventually, right now it's alphas are times 10, betas are times 5, untames are times 2, and chaos is times nothing. But when chaos gets retired, maybe alpha and beta always stay at 5 and 10, but maybe untamed moves up to 3x and chaos moves up to 2x, giving it a little bit more value within the land ecosystem. And also right now on land, we're staking only 5 monsters, but in land 2.0 and the eventual future building of land, you could have the ability to stake more monsters, right? I mean, once you can actually build buildings, maybe there's the ability to eventually, they've talked about removing that 100K cap PP, and they could always add in additional slots to, like, you build this kind of building, it lets you stake 2 more workers. And so things like that can always be added. So I think they have the right idea of what to do with cards, retire them to land, do burning events.
They should be able to do it like burn them for time crystals, like that's time crystals or something we want to see more of. Like, you want to get rid of cards, like, yeah, burn, X amount of BCX, you get time crystals.
Hey, that's not a terrible idea.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
then that's just something you just use up on land to kind of boost your output, right? And they go away, and you don't have to worry about them, causing like too much inflation. So I don't know.
Yeah, but I think that we've shown that the community can be creative in a way to keep cards. They're not going to be at the same level of value as they are when they're dominating modern. And helping you get like extreme returns on your investment. I mean, because just as an example, me playing with the untamed cards in modern, I pretty much have an entire soulbound set in maxed out, all commons, both in regular and gold. I have all the rares in regular and about half of them in gold. My epics are literally like a few cards from being maxed out, and I have most of the legendaries cut max out, except for Kulu. I'm not allowed to get him. I have one, so I'm only allowed to get one. They coded that in, so I am missing that one. But I have literally
0 still.
I now have 10. I have a maxed Izar with 9 extra copies, and a maxed gold one with 3 extra copies. So it's just one of those luck of the draws that every time my chest shakes, I get that legendary. But the point is, playing at that high level, and I'm not even like somebody that's gone too crazy. I've averaged about 90. When I was botting, I was getting about 105 chests a season. Since I've been solo playing, I've been in the 90s because I can't quite win at the bot rate. But if somebody who's been doing more than me, they might be completely maxed out already. So that's the advantage of playing with the best cards in the game going forward, is when it comes time to unlock the soulbound cards and sell them, who's going to be the people with the most of those to unlock and sell? It's going to be the guys who played with the best cards at the time in the meta.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, you guys both bring up some good points there, and I'm curious with respect to, somewhat retaining card values as they move from modern to wilds. There's a few levers that can be pulled. I think, one is, I was thinking along the same lines as you, Steve, is providing a boost to land production output. Maybe I don't know if that's enough to shift the dial to where these, I think the untamed cards, they're rare, they're scarce. There's not a whole lot of them, and they're very OP for the most part, and the price clearly reflects that. Now, whether or not the team can put enough of a shove on the lever to retain those values longer term once they move into what, I think Kitty is the exception. I think that card is just as OP and wild as she is in modern. She wins, she wins matches and she just has supporting cast. Whereas, we've moved, Matt has done a good job of kind of making it where you need a full, well thought out, well put together team in order to win with the new summoners. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of levers does Matt orchestrate and pull to retain some of the card values once these cards move into wild. And I don't know if you guys saw, but Matt Clark, in response to that burning proposal for Rift Watchers, which I'm not a fan of burning cards for Rift Watchers. I am a fan of putting in burn mechanics and in particular perpetual burn mechanics, like something that like you just mentioned, Hep. If we can have a permanent bonfire going in lands where you can take your extra maxed out copy of Pellicor Bandit and you get a big fat return by way of a heap of time crystals or some sort of production boost or whatever that looks like. If there's something there that offers a perpetual burn, obviously that already exists by way of burning a card for DEC, but it's just not, the juice is not worth the squeeze at this point. But if we can pull cards out of the ecosystem and see that tangible value in some way, shape, or form on land, that's going to benefit the whole ecosystem by removing BCX from the current pool of total BCX, and it's going to benefit you, the landowner. And Steve, you mentioned another really good point there around, once we have buildings available on lands, maybe you need a whole new set of 3 or 5 cards to manage said building. And I could see Kitty in that capacity much easier. The Kitty, the business manager, running the books over at the lumber mill sort of thing, or something like that. But yeah, it remains to be seen. I kind of have my foot in my mouth because 6 months ago we were talking about Almo, and Hep, you and I spoke specifically about when I was ready to sell it, you'd be willing to buy it. And now, I've watched that price steadily creep down, and part of me tells me it's not a fire sale. Like there's max copies and there's single BCX sitting around that 18 to 23 price range where, a month ago, 6 weeks ago, that price, you could not get a single BCX under $30. But yeah, I mean, that's the state of the game. We will see where Matt decides to pull some levers. I think he's got a lot of cool mechanics up his sleeve. We've got a really clever community. There's a lot of really sharp people with some out of the box thoughts in terms of how can we benefit the whole ecosystem by putting in particular mechanics or what have you to help retain, because we all want to see this thing succeed. And Chaos Legion, as much as I think we wanted to believe that 15 million was the right number, it clearly wasn't. We were shooting for the moon, and Chaos Legion has suffered as a result of that. But if we have something like these burn mechanics come into play, and Chaos Legion is still going to be relevant for, I would guess another 2 years, it's going to be kind of the cornerstone for a lot of modern players' decks. If we have these kind of perpetual burn mechanics come into play and become an opportunity, all of a sudden Chaos Legion could be, I don't want to say untamed level scarcity, but, we could see Chaos Legion achieve a much more realistic place in the ecosystem in terms of overall BCX.
Yeah, and something you have to remember with Chaos Legion is, as big as it is, land was designed for how big it is. It has been stated that if all land was fully occupied with max leveled monsters, it would chew up 75% of all monsters in existence. That's including 75% of those said Chaos Legion cards that seem to be too many. Obviously, once Rebellion comes out, that number will change. And we'll have more cards than we need. I'm actually in support of this idea of burning cards to get Riftwatcher packs. And the main reason why is I do agree with him that it lowers the value of Riftwatcher packs, but it also increases the value of the current Chaos Legion, basically, because those were going to be the cards that are bought up and burnt. So there's kind of a give and take there for anybody that is currently in the modern format. And Rift Watchers, if we turn everything around and everything next year, Rebellion comes out, it does well, the DAO gets all this money, we get the flywheel going, we get into a bit of a crypto bull market where at least people are willing to come look at Splinterlands, and they've got a token that's gone from 2 cents to 10 cents. They've got, or 1.5 cents to 5 cents, we'll even say now. but and then they come and they look into the ecosystem and they go, what do I need to be the best in modern? And if you think it was Untamed was hard to get, Rift Watchers is going to be harder, and it does have some meta-defining cards in it. It's a pack set that was the same size as Untamed, given less cards, but we might only sell about 1.2 to 1.3 million of those 3 million packs and burn more than half of the packs. That means it's going to be really, really hard for any new player coming into the game. Instead of saying, oh, I couldn't get Kitty, I couldn't get Jotun, it's going to be, I couldn't get, Corsair Borzak, I couldn't get, all those 11 cost legendary drops that keep destroying me in every high mana match I go into. They're friggin' $40 at BCX, and you're going to have the exact same complaints that you see today. And so I like kind of this kill two birds with one stone, get those packs into the hands of people and burn away all this extra Chaos Legion junk that isn't worth anything. That way, when it does get moved out of modern, it's not such a daunting thing to deal with because there clearly are too many Chaos Legion cards in the ecosystem now. While you could argue there is places for them on land, they're not great cards to put into land. We did say that could change a little bit, but they're not going to ever be as good as the older cards. So I feel like doing this, it would be a good way to kind of, and I'm somebody, I have a max Rift Watcher set, so I'm willing to dilute my set of cards. I've bought in 1,600 packs now of that set. Roughly, I think, yeah, I just bought 100 more for the shipwreck airdrop. And I was planning on buying another probably 200 packs in the next couple weeks with the DEC discount, but now I'm holding off to see if I can instead burn away one of my accounts that are holding Chaos Legion cards, because I have these old cards on alt accounts. They're basically just Chaos Legion cards, and I don't need them anymore. And if I had a chance to just burn them into because botting in modern silver, wild silver, it's not very rewarding. So I have a feeling that you'd see some of those bots just, burn up their cards, and maybe that would make wild a little more palatable. You'd see more Rift Watcher cards be in the market and be there for sale, and just be there in the ecosystem when it comes time for them to really shine. Because when Rebellion first launches and you're waiting for those airdrop cards to get released, though we're going to have to see how they decide to do that with the burn mechanism, because it probably won't be on packs sold. It'll probably be on dates. But still, while you're waiting for those theoretical best legendary summoners to come into the game, you're going to have your time where the Chaos Legion Untamed and the Rift Watcher legendaries are basically just dominating the game.
Mm.
So
yeah,
we also have to consider, Matt being the architect of all the, finals. He's got final cut on all the abilities and the interactions of the game, and I run into Matt fairly regularly in modern, so I know he's got a good sense of what's relevant, what does modern look like, what does the current meta look like. He's very up to speed on all that stuff. He's got a full-fledged collection, so he's a gamer, and he understands the game, and he's designing the stuff, which I think benefits everybody. And he's done a really good job of bringing cards out of relevance into immediate relevance. When we saw Wraith and the Shield Bearer is a really good example. When Wraith first came out, all of a sudden Shield Bearer, that price just, oh my gosh, I remember trying to get Shield Bearer. It went up to $8-9 per BCX, and that was the team that you could not beat. That was, if you own the Shield Bearer and you had Wraith, you were pretty much winning every single match. But with that kind of philosophy in mind in terms of bringing these cards into relevancy, I have to think about guys like Thispa and Aquatis and these cards that are immediately nerfed by something like Kitty, and they have a very low ceiling in terms of the value. But if we get some cards that maybe amplify backfire, and we get some serious enraged cards on water, all of a sudden Aquatis is not just relevant but dominant. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that I think is on the table for the future of what Rebellion could really do for the game. It's going to be an entirely new era of Splinterlands, and yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see if Rebellion leads to a better pack sale life, because typically what happens is you get a big rush in the beginning, and then you have to they have to almost beg and do deals to get people to keep buying the packs sometimes to get to those airdrop cards. And now they've had to institute burns to get to those airdrop cards. But if you stop having pack sale monuments to get your airdrops out, and instead you do every month or every 2 months, depending on how they're going to be doing it, or maybe it's every 5 weeks. Now you have every 5 weeks people buying the packs to get more in the airdrop, or buying the packs after the card has come out, because now you can open it inside of a pack. And that just becomes a regular occurrence. Every 5 weeks, another one drops, another one drops, another one drops, another one drops. And you can just have it on your calendar that these are the days that these monsters are going to come out. And I feel like that's a better way to do it, because waiting and waiting and waiting for these cards that theoretically you've already purchased, right? I've already purchased my 1,600 packs. I am already entitled to at least 5 or so of these legendary cards. I want them. I don't want to wait a year to get them. So bringing them out a little bit quicker, having them in the set, and then eventually reaching that full born, every legendary card is out with maybe more than half the pack still able to be bought instead of only the last half, could drive. Because let's just face it, with the packs with a chance to have a legendary summoner in them, all 7 of them, or all 6 of them, is a more valuable pack than one that doesn't have them, right? So it is a fun ecosystem to get to, and so that's also why I'm in support of this Rift Watcher things. Way too many packs are getting burned from that set. It's a bummer, but we're in a time where I can understand why people are hesitant to invest additional money.
Let's look at your longer term view, Steve. And I heard you, Bebe Tales, and chat kind of going back and forth around what is that price point where you will start moving assets out of your account, specifically speaking about SPS. So you've been here for a long time. You're a fairly significant landholder. CP played a major contributing factor in determining what your airdrop was. You're a pretty decent sized SPS holder. You've seen your ROI, almost entirely on that $4,000 investment initially. I multiple times over, and that's just assumption with some very basic math plugged in to that conclusion. But I'm curious, what have you determined? Where are you going to start unloading SPS? Where are you going to start taking cash out of the game? Are you waiting for that 10-cent mark to start moving and selling 5% once we get there? What is your, I don't want to say exit strategy. I don't think that's the right term, but what is your strategy to seeing real funds come out of your SPS peg?
It's a lot higher than most people's. I can tell you that much. Because I see what the SPS flywheel could do to SPS, because I have envisioned that, and I made that video where I said this coin could 100 to 1000x, and I still stand by the fact that it could. I'm not going to start selling it at a dime. It's not exciting to me. I've been there before. With large amounts of SPS, I'm not even going to probably start selling a lot at a quarter. What I would start to do at a quarter is sell my weekly earnings from battling within the game. I like right around there is where I would start to be like, okay, I need to move some of this outside of the game, but I don't think I would touch my stake until $2. That's where I would think about unstaking. The one caveat there, if things are going really crazily parabolic, we could see staking requirement changes. And if a staking requirement change was made, it would make sense for me to take some off the table, because right now I'm sitting at a 518,000 staked. It's enough to get a solid with my guild bonus, like 11x in champion. So I don't need more. I don't know what I need for Soul Keep yet, but I don't have a massive amount of Soul Keep packs, so I'm not going to be a top tier player in that game. So I until they actually let me open packs and combine cards and figure that out, I don't know if I need to let that grow a little bit more. But also I'm invested into, I think I used to do videos about this, but since everything's down, I don't do them anymore. But it used to be the EMP Splinterlands Infinite Money Loop, where you can put money into a contract they have that lets you pay out SPS and BNB basically slowly forever. So that is where my profit taking would end up coming from, because I have, in today's value, $10,000 invested into that thing and can claim out $40,000 in rewards. And if SPS went up quite a bit, those reward numbers would be a lot different, and I would just take my money from there. But that's kind of the things I would do, mostly just because if this starts to work, I'm a firm believer that it's really hard to break. The difference between SPS flywheel and the different flywheels I've seen before is it doesn't have that same break mechanic built into it.
Meaning the two-way transfer, the two-way burn.
Because once it's burned, it's gone and it can never come back. So the only thing that can mess up this ecosystem is if we end up getting to a critical mass of DEC in the ecosystem from massive amounts of SPS being burned to come into the game. But even that doesn't inherently dump SPS immediately. And now with finally seeing what the DAO is going to become, it's just like, I don't want to be that guy with 500,000 SPS and I sell it at a nickel, and then I see it at $2 or $3 or even higher at some point in the future, because Matt, he did what he said he was going to do. He got his flywheel flying, and I've seen two flywheels in my life do ridiculous things. One was on Polygon. It had to do with Titan Finance, and literally Titan went from $1 to $1,100. $1 to $1,100. That was insane. And then Terra Luna went from what, 5 cents to $132 or something like that when its flywheel was going. The difference here is just like, can they make enough sinks for DEC? Well, when you're starting with almost no DEC left in the ecosystem, and then you introduce 50 elements that you have to make liquidity pools for, in a land game where you have to make spell cards that can be changed out just like Soulbound rewards cards. So you can be crafting, my funny example I do, because I'm an old school Magic players, you were crafting fireballs for a while. Well, guess what? You can't craft those anymore. Recipes have been lost. Now you have to craft lightning bolts. And so there's we've reached critical mass of fireballs. No more can be created. Push and shove and buying those spells to get yours to level 10. And if you couldn't get that one, then you're stuck with only using a lightning bolt. So I have a blow one of your monsters up for 4 damage, and you have a blow one of my monsters up for only 2. Haha. I was here first in the spell game. So there is going to be that kind of dynamic, and as long as we're making the spells are dynamic and important from the game, and we continue to need to stake more things into the game and get more land going. To me, it's a perfect storm to see some ludicrous type number, and I'm gonna go ahead and go for that ride. But when it gets to like $2, I'd probably unstake some, and just because I don't think I want to be a millionaire on paper again and not at least walk away with a few $100,000. I did that last bull run, so I'm not going to do it this time. But I've already proved that I can hold $1 million worth of Splinterlands assets and not sell them. So I think I can do it again to not sell all of them if that happens.
Yeah, Diamond Hands credentials are strong with you, Steve. Don't worry. Do you think we'll see the point at some point where they'll release more land? I mean, they said that when they sold it initially that we might do more. It maybe just won't be as powerful. It'll be debuffed a little bit. Do you think we'll get there? Well, like it'll be so popular and people will want it so bad, and we'll maybe have more cards in the ecosystem we need to eat up that even land can't handle. I know that this is a long way off, but I mean, do you think we'll get there, or do you think the land that we have right now is enough?
No, I don't think that they'll ever make more land. I think instead they'll just increase the amount of monsters that can be staked into land. And then they'll take away that 100K minimum, a maximum on land, maybe move it up to like 200K. And then you'll have the big alpha guys with like the gold alphas just be able to hit 200K in like 4 monsters, right? So they're not even staking 5 monsters on that plot to get it there, right? Because isn't a gold alpha 50K all by itself?
Okay.
PP, legendary, maxed out. So you've got guys who have more than 5 of those, and they can only put 2 on a plot today. So eventually, you'd have to imagine that the cap will go up to at least 250K. How do you make that a little more fair? Well, you let the normal guys stake 50 monsters on there. Right? It costs them way more DEC if they want to do that, because you have to pay DEC per monster that you put into the plot, and you can eventually get yourself up to close to that 250,000 threshold as well. But they did it in 5 cards, and you're doing it in, I don't know, 100 cards, right? 150 cards if you want to get that same production. And the reason why this all works is because all of this blows up our rewards token. So if SPS starts to be worth big numbers, then those battle rewards in Modern are ridiculous, right? Could you imagine earning 20 or 30 or $40 a win playing the game up in Champion, or even down in Bronze? I think they get, at 1 SPS, don't they? They're earning $1 per win playing the game, or more if things get really broken. That's what creates the demand for those spell cards. All of a sudden, it's a serious amount of money you can make playing the game. You want to have the best spell cards. You want to have the best equipment. You want to have them at the best levels. And the circular system that we have here is what makes it all so amazing. And it's because we have a game with rewards, an ability to pump that token to really good high levels by engaging within the land system. Why do you want to engage in the land system? Well, it's to create cards and equipment that let people win that token that you're pumping by taking part in the land system. So everything is so interconnected to make one domino fall and then just keep on going and keep on going. Obviously, there can be an end to anything at some point. And the big worry with the whole system is eventually we mint so much DEC into the ecosystem that we can't keep it at peg anymore. And when the question is going to be, when does that happen? Because does that happen early on and we just stall out, at the beginning of this flywheel, or can they create enough liquidity pools, enough of it being staked into land, enough of it being dumped into the new pack editions that's coming out, enough of it being dumped into the traditional liquidity pools that are out there. Because DEC SPS at like 100% LP reward starts looking kind of interesting to a lot of people too. So there's just a lot of interesting things that'll have to happen. So it's exciting if they can make it happen. And this is where the big egg on it, people like my face are, and the team put it there. Land has been a disappointment so far. It doesn't work well on the Mav server, and it doesn't do basic things that it's supposed to very well. The bugs that they have are on core ports of the functionality of the very beginning of this game. The only thing I can hope is that Matt is of the opinion that Baby Omega has shared with me, that once they build this base and it's all working right, it's a lot easier to say add another coin to this system than to program this to work the first time. I don't know enough about coding to know if that's true, but I hope hearing it now from him that it is.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I feel like the leap from 1.0 to 1.5, I'm hopeful that it is the biggest leap that we're going to have to make in terms of introducing new code and a new system into the system. And any subsequent release, whether it's 1.6 or 3.0, it's baby steps from 1.5 is kind of how the amount of time and the amount of effort that they're putting into 1.5. I would hope that they're setting themselves up for those sorts of subsequent baby steps to achieve 1.6, 2.0, 2.5, etc. But Hep, I want to jump back to your question and kind of expand on that a little bit further. So you asked, are we going to see more land, another continent, maybe some subterranean stuff, or islands in the sky? What would be the purpose of that? Is that to allow for more players to participate? Is it for revenue generation? Like what would be the purpose of that? And my instinct tells me the purpose, at least if I understand Matt's vision correctly, he wants to enable everybody to participate, right? That's kind of how I foresee. He's a gamer. He wants, if you're involved in the game, you should be able to play all aspects of the game. So I wonder if the real answer to that is, when we have buildings, he's also equated this to being, kind of a mirror for real life business and real life economy. And I wonder if the answer there is like, if I build a lumber mill, can I lease that to Steve? And that is the way that, subsequent generations of Splinterlands players can actively participate. I don't think it's just that one instance, but I think land surfing is a great solution to allow total participation as well. But obviously the way that I've understood land surfing is that's conditional upon, if I put 50,000 PP on a piece of land and Stever says, oh, well, screw that guy. I've got a bigger chunk of monsters that I could toss on there. Well, all of a sudden I'm left hunting for another spot with the same potential outcome where I stake and then I'm booted. Whereas I think if we introduce something like building leases and business leases and contractual agreements, all of a sudden that completely changes the dynamic for these other players who come in later that don't have the opportunity to buy a plot of lands, but they can still participate just as equally. What do you guys think about that kind of approach to, or am I thinking about the vision for land correctly in that total participation is a very valuable and desirable outcome? And is that, let's start there. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I do. I agree. I think that in some way, and maybe it's not everybody needs to be able to own land or be able to mint cards or have cards and workers on land, but I feel like there does, for it to be this important part of the game that they envision it. There needs to be a way for people to interact with it or participate in some game aspect of it that involves land, apart from just having to buy the spell cards. And I mean, even that could be, problematic if, forget what the numbers are, but how many, people control like the majority of the land. If it's just 50 players, are then they going to have the access to the best spell cards? Are they going to be able to be, well, we're the people now, you know, at the top of the champion board because we have the cards, and maybe they don't sell them, or maybe the prices are too high that newer players or even players who don't have as much to invest in the game just don't even want to play. And then is that something where it then drives people away, and then is it just left with, well, now it's just those few people left at the top? So yeah, I just wonder if it creates issues that way. And maybe it's just so wildly successful that people are like, this is awesome, we want to get more people involved. Maybe the DAO votes that they want to have, we want to have another continent unlocked, or we want to have something else that involves land. So I mean, there's lots of different ways it could go. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah. Initially, I don't think there'll be more land. I think at least as of now, the team has said that they've taken back that idea and there won't be more land.
Oh, okay, I hadn't heard that before. So
I've heard them say that that at least as of now there won't be more land. There'll be more stuff to do on land because we've heard that the raid / boss monsters will have something to do with land, and that'll be one of the things that other people can partake in on land, from my understanding. And I think land surfing is the immediate answer. I could see some kind of rental system being worked out eventually. Be that way you didn't have to play in the kind of annoying land surfing way of, like, if somebody just doesn't really like you, they might follow you around and keep pushing you off of your land if they can find you, right? They could just be like, Bojangles, you can't have any land. I'm just going to keep throwing my monsters on and kicking you off so you have to wait 3 days. So the land surfing, to me, it's something to help us at a time when there are some people that own quite a bit of land who aren't going to be able to work all the land. We've heard a few people say, big holders, they're going to be able to go really high and hard. And then we've heard other people say they've only got enough stuff to do maybe 5 to 10% of their plots. That's kind of the differences I've heard between two people holding 2,000 plots. I'm going to work them all. I'm going to work 5%. So this is why I'm closer to us ending up somewhere around 40 to 50% when this goes live. But even then, it won't be all with like premium maxed out monsters. And I don't think anybody should try to be premium maxed out monsters day one, because I think you're going a little too hard at that point. I mean, if you've got the money and you want to do it, more power to you. But I don't feel like people should be pushed to rush that, because then the land process is going to become a game of upgrading your monsters over time, pushing that PP to the next level, adjusting to any changes that they make to the game, adjusting to the fact that they might make it so that you can stake additional cards into the game, adjusting different things like, if you have an SPS mine and you stake 5 cobalts into it, you get another half X on your multiplier because they're good miners. There could be all kinds of different things that they can iterate into that land ecosystem, bonuses that they can add, additional cards, staking, buildings that cost X amount of DEC. I mean, if you want to imagine how much DEC can be pushed into a building, just look at the guild buildings and how much they've required you to push into those. And a guild building, a building on a land could level up infinitely, right? Pretty much. If I got a 1% bonus to my production per level, and I could just take it to level 99, or maybe it's 10% and you're allowed to go to 10% to be in the beginning, and it's like diminishing returns as it levels, but it might still level up 20-30 times. So there's all kinds of different things they can do within land that doesn't, I think, require them to issue more land. And as much as you said Matt is somebody who is like, he wants to let everybody get involved, I would say at the same time, though, he's not afraid to have things be exclusive or only a few people owning them. Rooney's an example of that. That's his baby. He didn't design it so that every land could have a Rooney, even if we had sold all the Roonies. there wouldn't have been 150,000 to go onto every single land, and it's going to play a vital role within the land ecosystem. So there's some understanding of like, you can come and play, but I'm fine with there being some people who are exclusive and at the top. And to tell you the truth, those people are good. Why did my gala videos get 30 to 40,000 views when I was making them, guys? It's because I had an item that was earning me $7,000 a day. It's not because my videos were that good back then. It's when I was a newer YouTube video guy. It wasn't because Townstar was some amazing game. It was a farm simulator. It was because I was making $7,000 a day playing that game. And that only lasted for about 2 months, but it was the craziest 2 months of my life. Okay. So if that is what Splinterlands is able to do for like just a couple people, that gets you eyeballs. That gets people paying attention to what's going on. That gets people coming in here and chasing those kind of returns. So it's okay to have those guys who are on the top if you're in this ecosystem, because when they bring those eyes here and they bring those people here, it's going to be, that is the kind of stuff that really drives people into an ecosystem like ours and makes them learn its earnings and big numbers and big stories being told by the people who are making those numbers. So
that's a great point, man. And that makes me think about, so item number 3 on Yaba's announcement post from the other day is attracting and retaining new players. Traditional industries, attracting and retaining new players, that's a burden on the shoulders of sales, marketing, customer relations. We're in a different ball game, right? Crypto, and I think with everything that you just said and kind of loosely related and in some instances much more directly related to attracting and retaining new players is something that we've been talking about indirectly throughout this entire conversation. Is retention a direct byproduct of all of these things coming into play? Is retention delivering on these promises? Is retention, expanding on the current experience, the veteran experience? And is new player acquisition, is that question solved and answered by focusing on everything that's going to generate the flywheel into action? You know what I mean? So is everything that we are doing ticking the box for new player acquisition and current player retention, or is there something beyond that you think that we should and could be focusing on?
I feel like the stuff that they've done for new player experience has been enough if we were in a bull market and our coins were going up. They've made it so you can come into the game. You no longer have to fight insane people to get out of novice. You can get into bronze and you can start playing the game. And then in Rebellion, like post-Rebellion, when they actually tried to do this, you're not going to run into Yodin, Llama. I mean, you are going to run into Wraiths and, his buddies, but the untamed, extremely powerful cards aren't going to be there. And it'll be an interesting thing. But also, like in crypto, number go up is the thing that works better than pretty much anything else once you have tokens. If you don't have tokens and stuff, then you can go with news and developments and graphics. But if you have tokens and tokens that have been around for a while, number go up is how you get people to pay attention to you again. And it's kind of a bummer, but I mean, Splinterlands, at the end of the day, it's an auto battler that might have the addition of one human element selection come into it. It's a game that can clearly be played by bots better than humans when it comes to most of us. And so a game like that, I don't think, as much as I like it, being somebody that it's in my wheelhouse. I came from playing Magic. I played from playing a card game called Versus. I also am into the fantasy genre. I played World of Warcraft for years. Like a game like this was right up my alley because I used to play card games, and then I played an MMO that when I left it, I felt like I wasted 2.5 years of my life because I didn't own any of that crap that I had spent 2 years getting. And so I liked the idea of playing a game where I owned the stuff and it was a card game. So, though, but there's not that many people like me. There's not. And so you need to get the masses in here, you need to get the flywheel going. And then, dealing with learning how to play that, because you can learn how to play this game if you take the time. The question is, are you going to take the time? And will you take the time for today's current rewards in bronze? I don't think so. Most people are just going to give up. It's just not worth it. The amount of effort that it would take for you to play and earn. But if SPS is at even a dime, it starts to be worth it in a lot of places around this world to come and play this game and learn how to play it, especially if you can get into it kind of cheap. And then if it gets up to 15 or 20 cents, the places around the world where that is a lot goes up. And when it gets up into 50 cents to $1, it starts being a lot anywhere almost at that point, if you're earning that for just playing a game. And that is the easiest way in my mind to have some retention. With the added caveat, adding some PvE stuff would be good. And I think they plan to do that. I think boss monsters will be in that player retention thing. I think it'll be part of land. I think that's one of the easier things to do, because one of the problems in general in this game is it's kind of a sink or swim environment. You're going to come in, you're going to play ranked battles, you're going to spend the time to learn how to play and how to win, or you're going to basically burn through all your energy and get nothing and be quite frustrated at the end of the day. And that's a rough sell, if you can come in and you can place, use your monsters to go partake in a boss battle and earn some rewards and play the game. It's an easier sell, but still, for anybody to come in and really master this game, you either have to love it or you have to be making a lot of money. And I don't know, is there enough people in the world that would love an auto battler game to really get us to the kind of numbers we would hope to see this game be really, really popular? I don't know. There might be, because how many players do you think we need? Like real players, if we had them in modern? Because right now I feel like we only have like 2,000 or 3,000.
That's a great question. You took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, I don't know. Is 10x enough to satisfy everything that we're talking about? If we saw 20,000 to 50,000 players, is that adequate? We've heard in the past, we were talking about, what is it going to take to hit 1 million players? I think that's unrealistic. B, I don't think that's necessary. But with the total SPS in the pool and what's remaining in yet to be distributed, is 10x the players, all of a sudden, that SPS becomes much more valuable, much more scarce. I'm not going to venture to guess, but I think my guess, my best uneducated guess would probably be, if we see 10x the players, all of a sudden we're talking about a very different ecosystem. What do you think, Hep?
Yeah. I'm not sure. That's not something I've really thought about. Like how many players do we actually need? I don't know. It's hard because you have to try to maybe like, if you figure out like how many players like relative to the amount of cards we had when Untamed was, sold out and those prices went insane. Do we probably have as many players as we did today? There were just fewer cards. How many more cards are out? So, how many more cards were released? Was it 10x, 10 times the amount of cards for? It was less than that, right? It was like five times the amount of cards for Chaos Legion than were in Untamed.
No, it was 10.
Untamed was 3 million packs. Chaos Legion was 15 million.
15.
Oh, I thought it was one and a
Plus
half
three.
million. Okay.
No,
So
no.
5x.
Untamed was 3. I think. Oh, you're making me wonder when you said 1.5. He could be
I thought
right.
it was 1.5. Oh, I'm
I'd
going to
have to
trust
go
you.
check that.
You were here for
Is that
it.
on Splinter? Yeah, you're the one of us. If you're what the Splinter cards have, they just have the most recent sets, right? Oh, they have. No, they don't have like the volume on the Untamed packs. They just have the prices.
Maybe it's something we can just Google.
Yeah, that's what I just did here.
Oh, what did you see? You've already Googled it. I'm not gonna.
1.5.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you're right. You know what? I don't know why I was thinking 3.
Rift Watchers, maybe.
Maybe because of Rift Watchers is 3.
Yeah, the refreshers is 3.
Yeah. So clean
Yeah, so-
10x.
Yeah.
I wouldn't buy that.
And like, and to me, a little caveat you got to put in there is you need the right type of players. You need the type of players who want to play at least at gold level, not the type that want to come in and play at bronze and sneak into silver because they don't buy enough cards to really move the market and stuff. But if we brought in, like 50,000 players, it would dramatically change things around here. And that's not an unrealistic number of people to come into a crypto game when you talk about the crypto world. But you have to have something to get those guys to come in here, to want to be here. And the only thing is that it's going to be seeing SPS start to turn around. It's got to go up. It doesn't even have to go up a lot to get some of them. Because if you start seeing it, instead of going down to 1 cent, because like we're at 1.5 cents. So if you get to 3 cent or 4 cent, that's over 100% movement. That's going to catch some people's attention. And then they're going to be like, well, why is this happening? And then if they do the math and go like, oh, they have a flywheel, it's starting to work. Tokens starting to go up. I've seen this before because we're not the only people that have seen Luna and Titan, and maybe there's some other flywheels I don't know about. They're going to be like, I need to come in and get in now. And those will be, that'll be your first wave. And then those people will hopefully push us up to the next level. And then you get that next wave of people. And then you get that final wave of people who are the ones who might get burned if this all doesn't work, because that's usually what happens. The question is, did Matt build a smart enough flywheel to not burn them? That's what I'm hoping, but I don't know for sure.
So is that kind of your answer to that question, Steve? How many players do we need?
Yeah, I mean, I think for things to be absolutely wild, it would be around 50,000 hardcore players within the game instead of, because right now we're doing what, like 5 to 10, 6,000 games a day.
Is it that low?
If we can, I think in modern.
Yeah, I thought we were hovering around 20K. Let's see here.
That high? My numbers might be off a little in my head.
Yeah, so it's been holding steady around 26 to 28K battles a day.
Okay. So then maybe the number of 5 I was thinking in my head is we have about 5,000 players. You do to pull off 20,000 battles.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you went up 10x that and you get 200,000 battles a day, I think that would probably do it if you had real players engaged in playing the game in modern, as opposed to bots. Because, anybody who's going to come and spin up 10 bots, they're looking at this more as an investment. They're more of a seller. They have to recoup their losses. It's a different thing than an actual, player base of 50-ish thousand people who are actively competing to play and be in that ecosystem. And when I think about it, I don't think that's that many people. And that's why I hope the flywheel can bring that many people here. And then if it starts being more than that, if we start seeing 100,000 people fighting in modern, and we're doing, as many battles as you're seeing in wild, then that's going to be a very interesting thing.
All right. Well, I think all things considered, I think general sentiment is hopeful. is my takeaway from this conversation. I think it's an interesting time. We're very clearly entering into a new era of Splinterlands. I think the general sentiment seems to be Team Yaba. Let's take this thing to the promised land, and I think Yaba is the right captain for this ship on the short term. How soon, or what do you? Let's kind of wrap it up on this question. How soon, and what is the watermark that we're looking for when Yaba starts shopping around the CEO position? He mentioned a couple of times that and he, not just yesterday but throughout as long as I've been here, Yaba has been he's very clearly stated that he doesn't want to be the CEO. He doesn't want to be the face of the company. And I think there have been concerns around, has Yaba essentially removed himself from where he finds passion in contributing to the business in the name of steering the ship as CEO. And my immediate response was, I don't think that Yaba would have asked or accepted the deal of Aggie removing himself or being removed to GLS if Yaba was going to be buried in only CEO duties in the long term. So I do find some comfort there. But what is it, or time frame wise, or deliverables that would tell you guys that it's time for us to find a new CEO?
For me, it's going to be after Land Point 15 is here and Rebellion is out, and he's gotten the Dow proposal in place for the sharing of revenue that he wanted, and that's setting up the company to hopefully be in a better footing going into next year. And I think one other thing that he'll want to do before then is get outside investment. And this is something I think Matt made very clear the other day on the town hall that we didn't really touch on. I think one of the things that it made clear to me is that he feels that the reason they haven't got outside investment into the company is not because the company couldn't get outside investment. It's because the evaluation that was being held on to, maybe by Aggie or by Aggie and the board pre him taking over, was too high. If you valued Splinterlands at too big of a number, people won't come in because they want a certain amount of money to get a certain percentage of the company. So it sounds like he's willing to lower that evaluation to make sure they get some funding coming in. And I think if he gets that big investment, and then he knows that they have that real runway there, is when we would see him ready to bring in somebody to take that position over. I don't think he wants to do that until those kind of things are worked out and they have money. So if Rebellion came out and went really well, maybe they wouldn't have to sell any equity to do that. If it we immediately sold 5 million packs or something. But I think outside of that, if it's just out and chugging along 100,000 packs a week, then he might need to get that VC deal before I think he'd really look to bring somebody else in to run the company.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. I think that's dead on. And who knows? I mean, that it might be a prerequisite to a VC deal. You never know if they say, hey, you got to get someone else in here, got to bring in someone, show us that, has a track record with doing this, experience doing this, that before we'll give you that investment or as part of that agreement. So that's always a possibility, as well as maybe finds an investor who they, want to put someone in that position to run in a certain way. So
yeah, you can even have an investor come in who not only wanted to own part of the company, but maybe wanted to step into that position if they, had the qualifications to do it. So.
All right, fellas. Any other thoughts that you guys are itching to put out on the table and chew on for a little bit?
If you happen to hear this before Wednesday night, come and hang out with me for my last Splinterlands TV show. I'll show you guys something kind of funny. I don't know if it's coming through that well, but no, it's not going to come in because of the thing. Oh wait, there it is.
Over, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So this is the termination letter.
Is that your termination? Official
from Splinter Monster Corp. That my contract has officially come to an end. Me and a couple of guys were laughing that we're gonna frame that up on the wall because not many people get fired from that company, right?
I love it, man. Well, I don't think this will be published until our usual time, but so your stream would have come and gone. Yeah, but
you're right.
Yeah, I kind of suspect a lot of the streamers are going to go back to their traditional self-run Twitch channels, and I think we'll still have Splinterlands content running around on Twitch, and I imagine there's going to be some folks that continue to support those channels and that sort of stuff. And Steve, we run into each other plenty on the battlefield, and plenty in chats on other folks' live streams, and you and Baby got your own thing. So yeah, I'm sure we haven't heard the last from Stever82, man. I'm grateful to say it.
Yeah, I am getting my Wednesday nights back, so there might be an expansion of our show if Baby Omega wants to do it twice a week. At the same time, there has to be enough news, and in this new cycle of Matt maybe not doing enough, there might not be enough time, so I might just get into covering some other things. I haven't decided if I'm going to start streaming on Twitch or not. I didn't do that before. I'm one of the rare guys that came over from YouTube to join them on Twitch. I did end up with maybe 80 followers on my Twitch channel just because I have one and I'm related to Splinterlands TV. I don't know. Maybe some people can let me know if I should do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll share my opinion. I would love to see kind of a different approach to quote unquote Splinterlands TV. Challenge, especially for new players. I'd love to see the opportunity to challenge the streamer, and I can pick apart as you being a new player and me being the streamer. I'd love to be able to pick apart and dissect. Why did you put this monster in this position? Why? Here's what you should have done. Here are the other options with the rule sets and splinters available, and really approach it from a learning opportunity perspective versus just going through the motions sort of thing. But yeah, I'd love to see you, and I'll definitely support if you guys do the additional episode of Into the Splinterverse, or you guys take that and put it on Twitch and just kind of talk through strategy and that sort of stuff. I'm sure I'll see you there, man.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea.
Cool. Hep, anything else from you, buddy?
No, just make sure everybody checks out Into the Splinterverse with Stever and BB Omega. It's a great show, definitely great content, always worth the listen. So go check that out.
Yeah, cool. Stever, man, I always appreciate your analytical mind, and you're a great guy to have a part and contributor to the ecosystem, the community. We've been trying to make this happen, long time coming. It's finally here. And it couldn't have been more timely. That was not by design. It just worked out that way. And I really appreciate your insights and value you as a community member. So thank you, man.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for having me. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm glad to say that my Wednesday nights are much more open in the immediate future, so I could always come back again sometime.
I'll count on it, man. This is first of many. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. You have been listening to
People's Guild.